And welcome to the final day of the D3Hoops.com Classic here in Las Vegas, Nevada. It is game 13 of 16, the final four games today here at the D3Hoops.com Classic. And we'll start off with men's action between the University of Wisconsin-Stout and Skidmore. And I'm Pat Coleman along with Justin Sweeney. And Justin, we're going to see one team that's going to play about 27 guys and another one that's going to play about 7 because the I guess the big news coming out of Skidmore is that Alden Madunjanin, the preseason All-American who re-injured his groin here in the first game a couple of days ago, is not going to go today.
Yeah, this is still a deep Skidmore roster. Of course, we saw a very deep roster as they were able for University of Wisconsin-Stout, I should specify, as they were able to put in the waves, 3 different waves of 5 players each against the decisively slow PLU Lutes yesterday. PLU stomping on UW-Stout after building a double-digit lead. Building upon that, Stout cut it down to 14, but they could just not overcome that decidedly slow pace that was employed by Steve Dickerson's PLU Lutes. Both these teams looking for their first win of this particular tournament. A lot of scoring firepower for Skidmore, even though that loss of the All-American Madunjanin. Wisconsin-Stout, we're going to have to find out who of these approximately 15 men we'll expect to see today could step up and provide the necessary production for the Stout offense.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they played 21 players in the game here yesterday, but Brandon Chrisman is sounding like he is going to be out for this game. He's had a bit of a rough night from a wellness perspective, shall we say. So we will keep an eye on that. But before we get you the starting lineups, we'll get you the national anthem. Before we get the starting lineups, we'll please rise as we honor our national anthem. John, please move your guests. Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem. So if you're a Wisconsin-Stout fan, you should know, of course, that 16 of your fellow fans are sitting in the stands right behind us, all in matching powder blue shirts. The Wisconsin-Stout Las Vegas experience is here back at the South Point Arena.
And already a vocally partisan crowd from the Stout outpouring.
A stout pouring?
A stout outpouring, outpouring of fans.
Oh, I'm looking forward to a stout pouring, but that's another 4 games from now.
I think we're talking about 2 different subjects, Pat.
I'm not sure we necessarily are, let's be honest. So the Blue Devils coming in with a record of 3-6. You know, the good news is that they matched their win total from last season. The bad news is that was just 3. They come in off of a loss, of course, yesterday, and previously a loss to the University of Northwestern in quote-unquote St. Paul, Minnesota. Skidmore, the Thoroughbreds, they are at 5-2. And we'll run through the starting lineups for Skidmore. First, in the backcourt, a 6-foot junior guard out of Harlem, number 2, Royce Paris. He'll be joined in the backcourt by a 6'4" freshman out of Lithuania, Edvinas Rupkas. In the front court, a 6'5" sophomore out of Vilnius, Lithuania, Martin Badulski. And in the front court, a 6'5" senior out of New York City, number 32, Eric Sanders, and a 6'8" freshman out of Meriden, New Hampshire, number 33, Charlie Williams. Thoroughbreds coached by Joe Burke in his 6th season, 93 and 50 overall. For Wisconsin Stout, everybody's going to play.
At some point in the game.
Everybody who's well will play. And let's just put it that way.
Well, Stout's coming off of that 73-56 defeat at the hands of Pacific. They wanted to play that fast-paced, up-tempo, dribble drive penetration game, and PLU was so adept at limiting what they could do. They terminated possessions. They stretched out the Stout defense whenever PLU was on offense. We saw so many times where PLU was able to get off a shot, and that was advantageous for the Lutes inside 5 seconds. Quite often, offensive rebounds occurred afterwards, and UW-Stout was just thrown completely out of their preferred rhythm.
So the Stout starters are guards John Keefe and Brett Ossenmacher, Corey Spear, Richie Kuyak, and John Lottie in the front court here to start this off. Stout in the gray with midnight blue numerals and white trim. Skidmore in the gold with green. Glad you joined us. Game 13. I sound excited. Doing my best.
Pat, I don't think we could be any more excited for this matchup. A good look at Skidmore, coming from the East Saratoga Springs, New York, and a team trying to emerge and fight for recognition and respect in the always powerful Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference.
Saratoga Springs, New York versus Menominee, Wisconsin, right here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Two thriving metropolises.
Las Vegas and Saratoga Springs, or Las Vegas and Menominee?
Well, they can watch horse racing in the first two locales you mentioned.
That is true. Inbounds off the feed. Williams shot no good off the feed from Paris, but an offensive rebound. Rupkus, remember he fouled out unexpectedly in the opening game for Skidmore in this tournament. Picked up fouls 3, 4, and 5 within a span of about 2 minutes and 10 seconds early in the second half. 10 seconds on the shot clock. And Paris is going to draw the foul.
You mentioned Rupkus. Skidmore falling to Ramapo 90-76 this past Monday. One of the few key performers who did enjoy a good day was Rupkus. 4 for 8 from the field. He knocked down 3 of his 4 field goal attempts en route for 12 points alongside 3 rebounds. Who else can step up today alongside Venus Rupkus?
Podolski to the rack, shot no good. Rebound tipped out, and Paris controls it. 20 on the shot clock. No score here in the early going. There's Rupkus to the rack, shot no good. Lottie there to rebound, and the Blue Devils will push it up.
They're looking for this quick ball movement from Stout, the penetration game. And who's going to be the key scorer today for Stout? That's the one question I would be curious about if I were a Stout onlooker.
Yep, John Keefe on the floor, and he is the leading scorer, but I've heard that, talking with Coach Eddie Andrus before the game, he was saying that Keefe's not feeling so great either. We'll see how many minutes they get out of him. Of course, they only need about 24 minutes out of any particular player. That's about all that that they will give at this point.
Keefe had a rough shooting night yesterday against PLU. That 73-56 defeat of Wisconsin Stout. Keefe just 3 for 10 from the field. Didn't hit any of his 4 3-point attempts, so he'll be both trying to wage his way to better health and also find his 3-point stroke in the process today.
Eric Sanders with the travel. Still no score. 18-13 and counting remaining in the first half. Keefe launches from 22 off the front iron, no good, and Rupkus with the rebound for the Thoroughbreds.
He's certainly willing to compete. The question is, how far can he keep up in this game with the rest of the pack?
3 on the way for Podolski, shot no good. Rupkus with the rebound. Sanders launches from 3, and this one hits. First points of the afternoon, and Skidmore is up 3-0. Trying to come back the other way, and it is Spear who will be going to the line. And fresh 5 waiting to check in for Stout. We're going to have foul shots though, guys, won't we? I thought we were going to have foul shots though. So let's see. Elliott, Ortman, Hank Kujak, Patterson, and throwing in the basketball is Isaac Elliott. That's who's on the floor right now for the Blue Devils. It's not quite like calling a Grinnell game. I've actually never called a Grinnell game. I should go do that one day. Grinnell about 4 hours from me in the Midwest. About 4.5 hours from Stout. What a game that would be. Stout versus Grinnell. Get the extra large scorebook out. Here's a 3-ball on the way, and nothing but the bottom of the net for Patterson. All tied up at 3. Grinnell seems to sub even more frequently. Their shifts are about 90 seconds, and Stout was going about 2.5 minutes there.
Patterson, we have good expectations for him today. 9 points and just 56 total for his team yesterday against PLU. Patterson was 4 for 8 from the field, so hopefully he can continue to be active for Stout.
Parrish trying to dribble his way in against through the much larger defenders and ends up traveling. Williams goes to the bench. Volpe comes into the game for Skidmore. 3-3 our score, early going. Stout with its second wave in. Here's Isaac Elliott, and he is going to get called for the offensive foul.
It's going to go the other way, but that's what you got to do if you're Isaac Elliott. Get to the bucket and do it efficiently. Just a little too late to the spot, trying to beat that Skidmore defender who admirably took the charge.
Jacob Nordstrom into the game now for the Blue Devils. Full court press. And they bring it across. Up top, 3 on the way for Volpe, off to the left. Rebounded by Hank Kujak, anybody?
We were calling him Kujak yesterday.
I have no idea. I know one of them also played football. I should know these things. I saw Stout play football this year. Nordstrom with a little baby hook. Stout up by 2.
Pretty active start for Stout. This second unit has given them quite the lift in these brief moments.
Back at the other end, Badulski's shot no good. Rebounded by Kujak. Someone's going to tell me, I'm sure. Huh? Pronunciation. Patterson picks up his dribble. Here's a 3 on the far wing, on the way, too strong for Sam Ortman. Parrish there to collect it. Looking underneath for Volpe, and it's going to go out of bounds.
That's a deep drive by Advinas Repkus, and I think the big man down low was a little surprised to get that one so late. The offensive foul likely coming against Volpe, I believe. And if you're Repkus at that point, you're so far committed, but a good job also by Stout to collapse on him very late and kind of throw things out of whack late on that drive.
Like the City University of New York Athletic Conference? Okay, Kujak is try to touch on that little N in the middle. That's an interesting pronunciation. Coming back the other way. Badulski taking it all the way, and he's going to get called for the offensive foul as well.
It's been a charge-happy game so far. Interesting to see if that trend continues.
I don't know how that can. That's a tough trend to maintain, you know?
Again, both these teams obviously trying to get to the bucket. Little inside-outside game, but these two teams sort of trying to fill each other out a little bit.
Okay, Kujak, good. I felt like I must have inherited that pronunciation from the Stout football game I was at. That's the only thing I can guess at. Here is a shot at the inside the elbow for Isaac Elliott, no good. Rebounded. Isaac Karp with it, launches from 23, off the back iron, bounces again, and falls into the hands of Nordstrom for the Blue Devils.
Well, these teams certainly are not gun-shy. This is a high-speed game. Whoever has the ball likely going to take the shot. This time it was Patterson once again getting to the hoop as quickly as he could.
You know, Justin, I promised I would never use an NBA reference in a broadcast.
I'll forgive you.
It seems like a D-League game.
Well, if you look at the caliber of players, that could be construed as a compliment.
No, and I'm thinking stylistically too.
Maybe like the Rio Grande Valley Vipers D-League type action.
Sure. Now you're getting too deep for me.
It's a analytically designed team that's engineered to shoot nothing but layups and three-pointers, very little in the mid-range, run and gun, take your shots within 5 seconds of the shot clock.
Is that David Arsenault's team?
No, he's affiliated with the Reno Bighorns.
Okay.
D-League affiliate of the Sacramento Kings.
We should have been heading out to Reno. No.
Well, they're just a quick little drive up north from here.
Patterson makes...
I don't know if I can accompany you on that trip, but a sweltering suggestion.
Patterson makes 1 out of 2, and the lead is up to 3, 6-3. Rupkus for Sanders from 23, off, no good, and a rebounding foul is going to get called against Skidmore. With Stout running all these waves of players in and out, controlling the pace of the game, Skidmore already down its best player. Eventually, Skidmore, you have to think of a fatigue factor. It's early now, but it's going to come, I think.
Maybe follow suit, if not outright copy what PLU tried to employ against Stout yesterday, slowing down this game as deliberately as possible.
They average 81.2 points a game. It's not as much in Skidmore's nature. And here's Rupkus bringing the ball up the floor.
And Rupkus has to provide necessary scoring again, as he did the other day.
Podolski's shot no good. Rebounded by Kuyak, Reggie Kuyak. I'd love to get you a lineup reset. We'll see if we're capable of doing that today. Those things are kind of difficult. Here's Keefe with a 3 ball on the way, and he hits it. Keefe, Lottie, Spear, Zach Dahl on the floor, Reggie Kuyak. Those are the 5, and 3 on the other end for Edvinas Rupkus.
I'll tell you one thing. Keefe looks like a guy who woke up about 10 minutes ago, but as long as he's on the floor, he's proven he's willing to compete.
Is that because he's wearing the long sleeves? He's still in his pajamas? Is that what you're going for?
He looks like one of the comfiest out there.
A foul out on the perimeter.
Yeah, not a great decision there by Reggie Kuyak, just running up the sideline, unnecessary foul.
Skidmore working on the basket to our right here in the first half. UW-Stout with a 9-6 lead here, our first game of the day, first of 4 at the D3Hoops.com Classic. Move in the post, and Podolski finishes. Yeah, Reggie Kuyak, let's see, now I have to go back and see if he won awards from D3Football.com, one of the better tight ends in the West region. Listed at 6'7". Got the ball there, and his pass is deflected and taken away by Marcus Jackson. Jackson's one of those guys a little deeper off the bench. He'd only played 3 games out of the 5 coming in. Here is a 3 ball, and it rolls in for Sanders.
Here comes the big run for Skidmore. That is a 8-0 run, and they've retaken the lead, starting to find their way from outdoors.
30-second timeout. We'll keep it here, remind you what else is coming up today. We will follow this game with women's basketball action between the University of Laverne and St. Vincent. And then we will finish out our day with 2 more men's games. Mary Hardin-Baylor versus second-ranked Whitworth and Calvin, which almost knocked off Whitworth last night. They will face the St. Vincent men to close things out here from the D3Hoops.com Classic. 15 teams playing 16 games, and have 15 interviews on tape, hopefully. We got 10 of those done. We got to get
on digital tape, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I know, right? Digital. Yeah. Someone asked me the other day if I had a DAT player. I was like, I never had a DAT player. I worked at a radio station that had a DAT player. That's as close as I get to digital tape. On tape? On what do we say now? I intentionally did not say on film.
Right. That would be that'd be
on hard drive.
A 2015 specific misnomer.
On SD card. Might have to go with that. Keegan Dixon into the game. Cross-court pass for Asenmacher. Dribbles in trouble with the trees, and it gets rebounded by Skidmore, but unable to hold on to it. Back underneath. Keefe kicks it outside for Asenmacher. Back on the post. This is just frenetic ball movement here for Stout, and a travel. Frenetic, all sorts of movement, frenetic foot movement as well.
Looks like we'll see some full court man-to-man here being employed by Stout.
We've got Karp, Sanders, Jackson, Paris, and Jack Byrne on the floor right now for Skidmore.
It looks like the way the officials are calling this game, a little high on the whistle spectrum, but they're not going to allow any movement to be impeded today. Good little matchup developing between the two guards, Royce Paris of Skidmore alongside, I believe it's Ossenmacher on Stout.
We're seeing Skidmore already digging a little bit deeper into their bench than they did here the other day. It's Karp's leaner, no good, and rebounded by Spear. 11-9, Skidmore with the lead. Stout with the basketball, under 12 to go here in the first half. Keefe kicks it outside for Spear. 3 ball on the way, and that is good by Brett Ossenmacher. And also, Keefe has lost the long sleeve undershirt.
That de-escalated quickly.
I don't think that's a thing. It's saved from going out of bounds by Isaac Karp, and then the trap came over.
That's a wardrobe of function. It feels. And, you know, I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's just me. It feels like the building is a little bit warmer than it was the last 2 days.
Could be.
When you walk in this building, there's a certain buildup of warm weather, it feels like, a swirling of an up-tempo temperature. And it's carried its way down here kind of in this cavernous bottom of the arena floor.
10 to shoot. Rupkus looking inside. Pass deflected. Controlled on the perimeter. Shot clock at 7. Ball in Paris's hands. Pulls up. 3 on the way. No good off the back iron. Jackson with the offensive rebound for Skidmore. And then travels. We'll get you a current lineup for Stout. It's Nordstrom, Elliott, Patterson, Ortman, and Hank Kuyak.
And according to my source to the right, Stout was just called, or was it Skidmore called for a delay of game warning?
Which one? That's important. Stout or Skidmore? Skidmore. Just a warning. Patterson picked up his dribble, kicked it outside for Hank Kuyak, picks it up, and the pass is deflected. Paris taking it away. Here's a 2-on-2, and finishing with the layup is Rupkus.
Yeah, some shoddy spacing there on the Stout side along the right wing. Kuyak didn't really want the ball too much, tried to return to Patterson, and it broke down from there, setting up an immediate fast break for Skidmore.
Elliott shot from 18 too strong, and Patterson ends up with too much contact with Rupkus on the rebound.
So it's starting to get a little bit physical, you can sense, between UW-Stout and Skidmore. Not sure who that's going to favor in the long run, or if the level of physicality shall continue throughout the next 30 minutes or so.
That's the 6th team foul for Stout, 5 on the Skidmore side of the ledger. Stout with full court man-to-man defense. Rupkus gets it across the timeline. Up top for Karp, near wing with it, that's Jack Byrne.
You see Stout in this 1-3-1 type zone. And now it breaks down in a man, so maybe my eyes had deceived me initially.
Rupkus now low post. Podolski puts it up with 5 to shoot and hits it. Not the ideal way you want to go around drawing it up, but it puts 2 points on the board. Sam Ortman is going to draw the foul against Jack Byrne.
Well, that shot's got to feel good for Podolski, who's coming off of a 1-for-6 shooting performance. He knocked down all 4 of the free throws he took the other day against Ramapo, but if he can get going from the field, that should bode well for Skidmore's chances tonight.
It's not tonight yet, man. It's just this afternoon.
Well, it is for some of our viewers, I think, pouring in from Skidmore,
from Lithuania?
Is it not?
Could be for Lithuania.
Because it's only about 3:18 in the afternoon. Still time
Yeah.
to barbecue and all that.
But Lithuania time.
Sure.
Okay. Today. How about today?
What's that, probably 13 hours from Vegas? I know London's 8.
8 from Vegas. Yeah, it's 5 from New York.
If you asked me to blindly find Lithuania on a map, I'd probably make a fool of myself. But
well, I mean, you shouldn't try to find anything on a map blind. That makes it
that's a very good point.
Right. It's right next to, Gordon says it's right next to Transylvania.
The original Transylvania?
That's a part of Romania. It actually is, isn't it? He's not joking. I mean, he's making a funny. Patterson makes the second
Just
free
a real
throw.
convergence of scholars here at South Point Arena this early afternoon.
So 15-13. By the way, Gordon, did you see, or Dave, did you see what Gordon brought down today? Gordon is always good for one big pastry here at the South Point. 3 ball on the way, off the back iron, no good. Offensive rebound for Patterson, and the putback is good, so we're all tied up at 15 apiece.
That's a great putback by Jalen Patterson. Tremendous timing, being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, nice job slashing in and picking up that ball. Here's Podolski on the way for 3, and it's good. Skidmore retakes the lead, 18-15.
Very good sign for Podolski, who's now knocked down 2 jumpers, and I believe the last 3 possessions.
And an offensive foul is going to go against Karp.
This game getting more watchable by the minute, starting to get that offensive tone. Both teams still playing with the relatively high pace of play.
We got Paris, Sanders, Volpe, Podolski, and Isaac Karp on the floor for the Thoroughbreds. A fresh 5 here for Stout, which includes Spear, Dixon, Colton Williams, first time I called his name today, and Keefe, along with Hank Kuyak.
Yeah, Keefe remaining active. I know one of the stories was he may be trying to fight off some sort of illness, but he doesn't look that much worse for the wear compared to that of the rest of his teammates.
And ball deflected out of bounds. Jalen Patterson leading the way here in the early going for Stout with 7 of the 15 points. On the other side, Podolski with 7, Sanders 6, Rupkus 5. That's the entire scoring for Skidmore. Shot clock at 6 for Paris. Over for Sanders, drives in, and is going to draw the blocking foul before he puts the shot up. However, he'll be shooting nonetheless.
Well, that's one of the first times in this game with 8:08 remaining in the first half that we've seen a collision occur inside the perimeter, and it's called a block instead of a charge.
Well, our gang of 16 in powder blue behind us do not agree with that call, but I do.
At least we know their opinion, though. It's good to have a turnout. You know, it's Las Vegas, such a great destination, relatively convenient if there are no traveling issues with your layovers and whatnot. But the other deterrent, I guess you could say, is it's not totally conducive to a lot of people to make their way out here to Sin City. But there has been a good turnout from the Stout crew. We saw a pretty good turnout from a limited yet vocal Whitworth section yesterday in the Whitworth versus Calvin game. So whoever has shown up here, they provided a good amount of excitement and cheerleading.
Sanders made both free throws. Here's a 3 ball on the way, and that one is in. That's for Ossenmacher. And the lead is down to 2. Ossenmacher, a 6-foot junior out of Annandale, Minnesota. Not quite in the Twin Cities metropolitan area. Karp outside for Paris, puts the ball on the floor, kicks back outside. Karp, dribble penetration, splits the defenders, and is going to call for the charge.
I think that's at least the 3rd charge of the day.
At least.
It's interesting the way this game's being called. Sometimes we've seen these players defensively been allowed to grapple and pull, and other times there are very light instances of contact, and those are immediate calls.
And I think Skidmore is doing it to themselves. Just it's a slashing team right now with the injuries and maybe a little bit of change, and still getting their feet under them here for the second semester.
And it's an interesting contrast to Stout. All these players basically living outside on the perimeter. Occasionally you'll see 1 or 2 swoop inside to the paint, but other than that, everyone's sticking outside.
That's Ossenmacher with his second 3 in as many possessions, and then nearly comes up with the steal. Dives on the table. But unable to corral the basketball. Camera's good? All right, our clock camera's still in place. Ossenmacher was about 15 feet and at least 1 table away, but you never know impact waves can travel. Newly into the game, Chase Ta for the first time here this afternoon for Skidmore. With Podolski, here's a 3 on the way for Karp. Hits the phalange, shot no good. 21-20, Stout with the lead and the leather. Ossenmacher, he's been heating up. There's Keefe. Spear, dribbles in, tries to dump it off. Has it deflected, gets it, saves her going out of bounds, shot clock at 10.
This is just a frenetic offense.
Yeah, I defy anybody to take what they've run and try to X and O it.
It looks really chaotic at times. They lost the ball out of bounds. Stout will recover it, but they always seem to be, even though things look out of control here and there offensively, Stout always seems to know where the next pass is headed.
That's going to be a foul against Jack Byrne, number 2 for him. No? Yep. I was just wondering where the foul shots were. Maybe that was another delay of game warning. It's the detriment of being on the opposite side from the scorer's table, and a ball is tied up. Possession arrow points towards Skidmore. 6 minutes to go here in the first half, and it's Wisconsin Stout leading Skidmore 21-20. Glad you joined us. Pat Coleman along with Justin Sweeney here from Las Vegas, Nevada. The D3Hoops.com Classic. South Point Arena, Equestrian Center, Spa, Casino, Hotel.
Bowling alley.
And all around place that we never get to leave. And here is a layup no good by Karp. Stout controls it. 2-on-1 fast break. Give it to the trailer. The layup on the way, no good by Spear. Putback attempt is blocked by Volpe, and they're going to get him for the foul.
Well, that's a perfect fast break besides the finish. 2-on-1. The spacing improved as the 2 guards came down the floor. Good delivery, and you just got to finish off that layup, but also a good recovery as well by Skidmore on the 2-on-1.
Thomas goes to the line, 2 of 2 before the team arrived here in Las Vegas. Thomas, a 39% three-point shooter, if you'd like to try to use that to extrapolate, but he misses the first one off the back iron. Jackson back in along with Byrne for the Thoroughbreds, joining Ta and Sanders and Podolski.
Ta got some significant minutes the other day against Ramapo. Very adept backup ball handler and point guard. He can work the offense and maintain the sense of rhythm.
Thomas makes the second, and it's a 2-point game. 5:25 and counting. There's a long 2-pointer on the way for Ta. A little turnaround jumper from 20 that doesn't fall. Pushing it up. Keefe to Spear. Swinging around far side for Williams. That's Spear up top, and Keefe working against Ta. Nice crossover. And there's going to be a foul before the shot gets off.
Good help by Skidmore, though. Chase Ta and Williams. Podolski also in the area.
Free throw on the way, no good.
Keith's factored pretty majorly into this game so far. No doubt a key scoring figure on this team at 16 points per game, 6 assists.
Second shot rattles out as well. 82% free throw shooter before the weekend. Week. We call it a week now, right?
I think we are into the week.
Sanders lost the handle on it. Keegan Dixon comes up with the basketball. That's Keefe. Bounce pass for Dixon. Dixon off the window, no good. Ta comes up with the loose ball.
Chance for Skidmore to run.
Sanders from 26, no good. Podolski with the rebound, a fresh 30.
Big guy Marcus Jackson in for the first time today.
You know, I thought one of the things I was going to have to adjust this year was it was going to be difficult for me to say fresh 30 instead of 35. And somehow that came really easily.
Well, you save a syllable.
Sanders, pull up over the defender. Shot no good, rebound tipped out and controlled on the perimeter.
It's going to be tough right now for Stout to win all these defensive boards. Skidmore has the size advantage as long as the big guys, Sanders and Jackson, are on the floor together. pretty wing-laden lineup right here for Stout. Colton Williams a big at 6'2", and Keegan Dixon a little bit taller, listed at 6'5", but other than that, they're really going to have to compete for spacing down low.
Dixon at the line to shoot 2. Skidmore has put them in the double bonus. One more coming. 6'5" freshman out of Apple Valley, Minnesota. UW-Stout, UW River Falls, UW-Eau Claire, as institutions all recruit pretty heavily from the Minneapolis-St. Paul metropolitan area, and the second shot is on the way, and that one is in. Dixon is one of those. He is a major in supply chain management. Stout, known for a few things: engineering, logistics, hospitality management.
Hospitality management.
That is now almost the sum total I know about UW-Stout.
So what's the hotel scene like out there in Stout?
Well, it's the town is Menominee, Wisconsin. So there's no Stout, Wisconsin.
Today I learned.
There's a 3-ball on the way, and that is good by Podolski.
Yeah, we're having some good battles down low. The big men of Skidmore willing to tussle with everyone on Stout.
On the floor now for the Blue Devils: Patterson, Nordstrom, Hank Kuyak, Sam Ortman, along with, I think I mentioned Jalen Patterson already. There is Hank Kuyak, who I also mentioned. Floater in the lane, shot no good by Kuyak. Isaac Elliott tries to track it down on the perimeter, and it goes out of bounds. It'll be Skidmore ball.
And Royce Parrish, immediately as Kuyak crossed midcourt, gave him some good pressure and continued to try and pounce on him.
23 our score, 3:15 and counting remaining in the first half. Paris, quiet on the scoring end. It's Byrne, now looking down in the low post for Podolski, has to save it from going out of bounds. Paris with it, shot clock at 10. Trying to direct traffic, gets a screen from Jackson, the big man. Swings outside, Podolski 3 on the way, and he hits it. And a timeout going to be taken here by UW-Stout. So with 2:51 to go here in the first half, we'll take a break. It's Skidmore 26 and Stout 23 at the D3Hoops.com Classic.
I'll tell.
Welcome back at the D3Hoops.com Classic in Las Vegas. Pat Coleman along with Justin Sweeney. If you're following along at home and your home is in Menominee, you're enjoying a balmy 28 degrees. That's balmy for late December in Menominee. 36 in Saratoga. Here, even though it's a couple hours earlier in the day, it's a beautiful 44 degrees and about 14% humidity here in the desert. Trying to back in against Nordstrom, and he hooks it in for 2. It's warm in Vegas, really it is. It may not be Orlando, but it's better than where you're coming from most often, and Jackson puts it in on the other end.
Well, 26 isn't all that cold if you're wearing 3 layers and a comfy wool cap.
If you're out there ice fishing, although, in all honesty, I don't think there's a whole lot of ice on the on the lakes in that part of the country right now. It's been a pretty warm December. And if you're UW-Stout, there's reason to believe maybe this year will be better than the last, as they're already off to 3 wins, as many as last year.
you hate to look at it from the standpoint that anything on top of this would be icing, but in the WIAC, you build a little bit more upon what you accomplished last year, which was just a very tough 0-16 season. But
well, they won't go 0-16 this year.
There's a lot of depth. There's a lot of youth on this team, and it's going to be interesting to see how this roster, very deep roster, continues to develop throughout the year.
They won't go 0-16 this year because there's only 14 games in the WIAC this year with Superior leaving the conference. Here's Sanders with a nice little underhanded shot. Charlie Williams checked back in for the first time in a while as well.
Skidmore's beginning to find some offensive success on the interior. They have the size mismatch, and they're starting to work with that advantage.
Paris saves it from going out of bounds right into the hands of Williams. Skidmore will bring it up the floor. Sanders launching from 26.
He loves that spot.
Yeah, he does.
Both left and right wing mirroring that.
Hasn't been particularly successful here in the early going, but he is 2 for 4 from downtown. Game clock coming up on 1 minute left in the first half. At the half, Dave McHugh will grab the coach of the team that's in the lead for a quick probably 3-question interview before going to break. 3 ball on the way for Spear, off to the right, off the glass, and rebounded on the floor by Byrne.
Not a big deal, but I really like that outlet pass by Sanders. Nice bounce pass that was oriented to where Paris was headed.
Here Paris just dribbling it out. Shot clock now at 15. A 15-second differential, and now Skidmore is going to throw it away. And Stout can take the last shot here of the half, down by 5.
Both these teams, you can certainly tell this is the 12 noon game. The pro of it, you get the rest of the day to explore Vegas and rest up, do some homework if need be. Not sure where these teams are on the semester, what their particular academic situations are at this very moment in time. But at the other end it does look like some of these players a little bit wide-eyed and bleary, but have been ready to compete. But you do see some discombobulated sets for both sides so far.
I know Skidmore is basically packed. They leave for the airport pretty much right out of here. For the flight back, I guess I don't know where they fly out of. Dave's giving me hand signals, but I know that is not an airport code. It's a 3 o'clock flight. Dribbling in. Shot no good by Keefe. Trying to push it up, and the shot is going to come after the buzzer sound. So we will go to the half with Skidmore leading UW-Stout 30-25. Dave McHugh waiting to chat with Joe Burke, the Skidmore head coach, who had to go pretty deep into his bench here this afternoon with the way that Stout is running players in and out of the games. Let's go check in with Dave. Dave, your mic isn't on. There you go. I'm still not getting Dave, but Dave knows how to work on that better than I know how to work on that, so I will fill while he's taking care of that. I'm not seeing anything. Power's on the receiver.
Nice.
Okay, there we go.
I don't know. That's weird. It finally came up. Coach.
Power's on the receiver now.
It took as long the microphone to come on as it took you to get off your crouched position at the end of the half. You look a little frustrated despite having the lead.
Yeah, we're just not in rhythm yet, Dave. I mean, it's I saw it the other night, and it takes time. No excuse. We had a huge break, but we're missing Alden, so we're trying to find ourselves a little bit. The rhythm isn't there. I'm happy the way we're competing. I thought we're doing a good job on the defensive end. They run a lot of different stuff, have a ton of different personnel coming in, but we're just not there yet. We got to keep pushing. We'll get there.
When you have all that personnel changing, is that a matter of trying to match up to the personnel, or just sticking to what you guys do as a base?
You know what? I think you got to stick to what you do, especially in this situation, because we know so little about them. Yeah. I mean, they're playing up to 15 guys, and to say that we were able to study that hard in 48 hours isn't going to be the truth. So, no, you just got to do what you do and do it well. Trust your instincts, and obviously the better shooters you're aware of, but overall you treat everybody as a good player.
And obviously you're dealing with injuries, and you're talking about trying to get yourself as a team. Does that mean you try not to tweak things at halftime and stick with what you're doing and finish that first?
Yeah, I think we got to figure out, right now we're figuring out who we are with the personnel that we have. So, yeah, I'm not going to go in there and change anything. We're doing the right things. We're just not executing the way I want. That'll come, but I just got to stay on them about it. We got to be a little more disciplined. I think as long as the energy and effort, which was there in the first half, continues, we'll start clicking a little bit better.
Very good. Good luck in that second half. Guys, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Dave, with Joe Burke, the head coach of Skidmore. His team leading 30-25 at the half. We'll come back in about 10 minutes. We'll do halftime stats, give you our impressions of half number one, and get you ready for the final 20 minutes of this game, the first of 4 here on the final day of the D3Hoops.com Classic. For Justin Sweeney, I'm Pat Coleman. We're at the half. Skidmore leads UW-Stout 30-25. And back out here at the D3Hoops.com Classic where we're at the half. Skidmore leading UW-Stout by the score of 30-25. The officials have come over to our broadcast position asking if they're doing a good job. I think they're doing a perfectly fine job. So let's skip with the fouls, and we'll come back to that later. First for the Blue Devils, who played 13 players in the first half. They were led by Brett Ossenmacher with 9 points, 3 of 5 from the floor, 3 for 4 from downtown in his 10 minutes. Jalen Patterson off the bench, 7 points, 2 for 2 from the floor, 1 for 1 from downtown, 2 for 4 from the charity stripe. Then it was Nordstrom with 4, Keefe with 3, Thomas with 1, Dixon with 1, and then all of these players played but did not score. Lottie, Reggie Kuyak, Spear, Elliott, Ortman, Colton Williams, and Hank Kuyak for the total of 25. 8 for 22 from the floor, that's 36%. 5 of 11 from downtown, which means 3 of 11 from inside the arc, by the way. And just 4 for 10 from the foul line for the Blue Devils of UW-Stout. They were out-rebounded by Skidmore 19-15, turned the ball over 10 times compared to 9 for Skidmore. And the Thoroughbreds, led by Martin Podolski, had 13 points in 17 minutes, 5 of 9 from the field, 3 for 5 from beyond the arc. Then it was Eric Sanders. He was 3 for 7 from the floor, 2 for 5 from beyond the arc, and 2 for 2 from the foul line for his 10. They go down to Venus Rupkus with 5, Marcus Jackson with 2. And then Williams, Paris, Byrne, Volpe, Ta, and Karp played but did not score for the total of 30 points. 11 of 30 from the floor for 37%, 6 for 17 from downtown for 35%, and 2 for 2 from the line. Foul trouble. Corey Spear and Jalen Patterson have 2 apiece for Stout. For Skidmore, Rupkus with a pair, Volpe with a pair, and Karp with 2 as well, as we get you ready for second half action. And Justin, first half thoughts.
Well, Pat, heading into the break, head coach Joe Burke of Skidmore said he's a little disappointed even though he has the lead, even though his team has the lead. He's not happy with the rhythm this team's in yet. I think that's reflected in Podolski and Sanders comprising 77% of the scoring so far. If Skidmore's going to pull off this game, I think you're going to expect a third or a fourth option even perhaps to step up and aid the offense alongside Sanders and Podolski. But on the other hand, very encouraging if you're a Skidmore fan to see Podolski already bouncing back, already outscoring his Monday performance against Ramapo when he was rather cold, just 1 for 6.
Yep, they definitely need offense from somebody, because as a reminder, as the 3 ball on the way and no good by Ossenmacher, a reminder that Alden Madunjanin, who was the preseason All-American at guard for the Thoroughbreds, re-injured his groin in a game here on Monday and is in street clothes here this afternoon. 3 ball on the way for Sanders is a rounded off.
Sanders certainly unshy about his 3-point tries. That's already his 6th attempt of the day.
Here's Spear working the baseline. Gets it back from Ossenmacher. Trying to work his way in against Jackson. Jackson a lineup change here for the second half, and a shot no good. Rebound tipped out. 3 ball on the way for Spear. That is short. Gets his own rebound, puts it up against Jackson. Not there. Jackson, instead of trying to control the ball, tipped it out, and Stout has it back. Stepping in is Patterson, and Patterson puts it in for 2. So my guess, we've got Keefe, Patterson, Ossenmacher, Spear on the floor right now for the Blue Devils.
Jalen Patterson's done his job tonight to keep UW-Stout viable in this game. Somewhat quiet 9 points, but he's picked his spots. A lot of hustle and energy points. A couple nice floating jumpers nestled in there as well.
Podolski, Sanders, Paris, Jackson, the big man in the middle. And he has it knocked out of his hands. Rupkus, the 5th player, getting the start here in the second half for Skidmore. Shot clock at 4.
Much necessary stop on the way here for Stout.
Paris inbounding underneath his own basket. Long up top for Rupkus. Shot clock at 2. Little floater, draws iron, and then rolls around it in for the first points of the second half.
Stout's seen too much of that over the last 2 days. A bucket put in on him with less than a second on the shot clock.
And the lead is back up to 5, 32-27.
Looks like the St. Vincent women's team strolling along, heading to their locker room in preparation for their upcoming 2 p.m. game against Laverne. We'll have that for you right here.
Nordstrom going to the rack and getting fouled. Not sure if Skidmore got its money's worth with Nordstrom going to the rack, but he'll go to the line here for 2. Misses the first. Second shot, that one's good. The lead is down to 4, 32-28. Full court pressure in the backcourt for the Blue Devils. Paris, Sanders, and they get it across the timeline. Rupkus now into the lane and looked like he was going to try to throw it back out on the perimeter, but it lost the handle on it. Here's Stout taking it to the basket. Shot no good by Patterson, but he'll go to the line.
Heads-up drive by Jalen Patterson. It looks like he's going to be one of the key scoring options on this night for Stout. That floater, maybe it got him going. And a good transition setup by Ossenbacher to galvanize that entire drive down the floor.
Patterson, 69% foul shooter. Here in the bigger end of the building, sometimes free throws a little bit more of an adventure, but he rattles the first one in. Cuts the lead to 3.
This game's getting additionally more compelling. I can't really decipher which way it's going to go. I have a better feel for what Skidmore is trying to do, but Stout, again, it's that broken chaos that everyone on the floor knows what's going to happen besides Skidmore and all of our viewers.
So it made them both, and the lead is down to 2, 32-30. Glad you joined us here on the D3Hoops.com Classic. Tight game here in the second half, and Sanders takes it to the hole and gets the finger roll. Spear, cross-court pass, near side for Patterson. Stops at the foul line, 14-footer, and he hits it.
Oh, boy. That's a tough shot by Patterson, and I think he's starting to feel his rhythm now.
Patterson, 6'2", sophomore guard out of Lauderdale, Minnesota. Here's Sanders, and is going to get called for the offensive foul. I guess that was a call that was really sold well. Let's put it that way.
I think that was a good job by Ossenbacher. He's been studying those Houston Rockets videos.
In all honesty, I'm not even sure that Sanders actually made contact with him, and Sanders is having a conversation. Not enough. Ossenbacher's reaction is about 3 times as much as the contact that was actually made.
Well, it looked like an unconventional collision because it occurred from the side. He went away opposite from where Sanders was spinning.
If he needs work as a stunt double, though, he should look into that.
Plenty of demand in this town.
It's a 3 on the way, and Sanders hits another 3-pointer. Sanders had 2 of them in the first half. He now has 15 points. Ball on the way, shot no good. Justin Thomas brings it up. Hank Kuyak off for Ortman. John Lottie on the far wing. Up top is Kuyak. Shot clock at 19. Coming up on the 16-minute mark of the second half. On the baseline, Dixon pulls it back out. Shot clock at 8. Coming around from the outside. And now dumping it and swinging out in the corner for Ortman. 3 ball on the way, and he hits it. Nothing but the bottom of the net, and Stout's lead is up to 4, 38-34. A lot of ball movement and used up 27 seconds of the shot clock.
Which is usually what their opponents have been enforcing against Stout over the last 2 days.
There's Sanders driving, and he gets the ball tied up. Arrow points at Skidmore.
Couple of tough sequences for Sanders in the last couple of possessions. Came up with that charge, which could lead due to Bade, and then missed another 3, dropping him to 2 for 7 from the arc for the night, and then came up short on this drive. But at the very least, a reprieve here for Skidmore.
Karp comes in at the dead ball. Sanders inbounds on the baseline. Gets the loose ball after Podolski unable to hang on to it.
Let's see if he tries to attack inside maybe this time.
Sanders pulls up and is going to go to the foul line.
They got to give Sanders this. He's a perseverant player.
Sanders, 6'5", senior, out of New York City. I would guess if I were to estimate a weight, probably 6'5", about 200.
I'd say like 217. His arms are impressive, are they not, Pat?
Yeah, they are. He's. I don't mean to say that he's wiry. I just mean to say that he's an appropriate 6'5".
Yes.
For what
You're
what he's playing.
Prototypical ideal D3 power forward, maybe.
Maybe a little short for power forward, but nonetheless, he gets the job done. He gets 1 out of 2 to cut the lead to 38-35.
And he's having a good weekend both tonight and yesterday, or Sunday, or Monday, I should say, to get my calendar bearings all in place. But
previous day and this day.
Yeah, that game against Ramapo, 5 for 9 from the field, really active at the free throw line where he was 10 for 13, one of the leading scorers, the leading scorer for Skidmore with 21 points on the night, also contributed 7 boards in that effort.
Shot clock at 10. Ortman with the basketball, pulls it up. Dixon has to hurry, gets it back out to Ortman, launches it with 1 second to go, and that draws nothing but air. And so it will be a turnover and a shot clock violation.
Skidmore with just 5 points so far in this half.
UW-Stout with 13. And that's the, I don't know if 13-5 quite counts as a run, but that's the margin here in the beginning of the second 20 minutes. And there is I guess a three-pointer by Rupkus. I think if we had replay capability down in the bench, I don't think that would have passed muster, however.
That's a sign of encouragement for Skidmore, though. It's Badulski and Sanders who have been the key scorers all night. They need a big game from Edvinas Rupkus, who had a big night, double-figure scoring on Monday against Ramapo, and he's cashing in here, finally getting going maybe. At the very least, he knots this game up at 38 all.
Yep, that puts Rupkus in double figures. Lineup change for Stout after they nearly threw the ball away on the last possession. Inbounds, 17 on the shot clock. Here's a 3 ball on the way for Ossenmacher, and does not get it to fall, but he'll go to the line for 3. So it's Keefe, Ossenmacher on the floor right now, along with Patterson and Spear. And one more is Jacob Nordstrom.
Unfortunate foul there by Skidmore, as Stout, they're enough of a threat as a team from three-point land. Shot 5 for 11 in the first half. And a closeout by Byrne that was just a little too tight on Ossenmacher.
Yeah, but Stout shoots just 59% from the line on the season, which has got to be one of the lowest numbers.
Maybe almost
in the
a good
NCAA.
trade-off, even though, fouling a three-point shooter is a cardinal sin. It may not necessarily damage you to the fullest if you're taking on Stout.
Missed the first, made the second. One more upcoming here for Brett Ossenmacher. And he makes that one, so it is 40-38, Wisconsin Stout. Backcourt pressure from this group. Wonder if they press indiscriminately, regardless of which wave they have on the floor.
Well, we haven't seen all too much press this night.
Yeah, and when Joe Burke was talking about how little time you have to prepare, and the possibility that they might play 21 players makes it really impossible.
Yeah,
those
the
are
inefficiency
the sort of
getting to know you.
I was just saying those are the kind of trends you might be able to figure out if you had a little more time to scout them. What which groups press.
The interesting question is, how much more does Eddie Andrus know about his 21 men versus that of Joe Burke?
Well, he's had a few more practices with them, if nothing else, and Jalen Patterson with a nifty little layup there. Andrus has been at Stout for quite a while, 26th season. He's also had a couple of other coaching jobs in his lifetime as Rupkus hits a layup. He's been the head coach of the Qatar national team, for example.
Home for now, the 2022 World Cup. A statement that's likely to ruffle all feathers.
I say not the World Cup of basketball, so. Joe Burke wants to know what the foul call is about. Meanwhile, Paris and Sanders come back in. Yeah, those not unusual for a D3 head coach to also be the coach of a national team at a country a little bit farther down
the
FIBA
equator,
rankings?
or the latitude.
The FIBA rankings?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right? Am I getting have I got the right governing body there?
Absolutely. Federation Internationale.
Basketball Association. I don't know. Shot clock at 14 for the Blue Devils, working on the basket to our right here in the second half. Nordstrom outside for Spear. Spear caught up on the baseline. Swings it outside. Shot clock down at 3. They got to get rid of it. And Spear gets it off. No, they say he didn't get it off.
If that shot had gone in, I think it would have offended every member of the basketball god kingdom. Just a chaotic play from beginning to end. A lot of fortunate bumps and bounces certain ways, but Stout never lost the basketball, but in the end, a good defensive stand by Skidmore, who stuck with the play all the way, even though that ball was flying.
Chaotic is the right word for it there at the end. And there's a steal by Spear, but a foul. It's going to be against Paris for Skidmore.
I'm trying to figure out the offensive identity of the Stout team, and besides the constant waves, I think it's the kind of chaos. We were talking, me and Dave McHugh, earlier in this game about the difference between Stout system and Grinnell, who's most renowned for doing this. With Grinnell, it's kind of a symphony. There's a lot more things happening. There's always constant movement, but at the same time, everyone in that Grinnell system knows the next movement that's going to occur. Whereas with Stout, it's a lot of chaos and things bounce the right way, but you're not totally sure if things are, all on the same page, but things work out more often than not.
3 ball, no good for Patterson. With Grinnell, it is such a fully cohesive package. It's
more like a 4-hour symphony, whereas this is more of a garage band that's been together for a week, maybe.
Well, I could buy the garage band. I'm not sure how many people would agree that Grinnell is a symphony.
Well, it's a 4-hour something.
What? A techno show. It's Blue Man Group, something over there. I don't know.
Key and Peele skit immediately came to mind.
With Grinnell, it's such a cohesive package, right? It's the front court pressure or back court pressure, leading to basically allowing the layup in the front court if they get the ball across midcourt, coming back the other way, shooting a quick 3. It's all one thing. Shot clock at 3 here for Sanders, puts it up, no good, and it ends up as a Stout rebound by Nordstrom. Here, those two pieces don't feed off of each other. The offense and the defense are somewhat separated. Rupkus up ahead for Sanders. Sanders one-on-one now, dumps it off for Rupkus, who puts it in over Ossenmacher for 2, and it's tied up at 42 apiece.
Excellent adjustment by Rupkus to get that refeed from Sanders on the block in transition. Good thought by Sanders. Pass nearly went a little wide, but it was Rupkus who was able to keep himself square with the bucket, and Rupkus has given Skidmore the offensive production they craved in the second half.
Thomas Ortman Dixon take the floor here for the Blue Devils, and there a 5th player checks in. That's John Lottie. Also Hank Kuyak, that's 5 for the Blue Devils. Sanders, Paris, Rupkus, Jackson, and Isaac Karp on the floor for the Thoroughbreds, who are getting a run in today, that's for sure. Here's a 3 ball on the way, no good by Karp. Jackson gets his arm way over the top, and here's a 3 ball that is good for Royce Paris, and a foul that's going to be away from the shot, I believe.
That time it was chaotic defense by Stout that did not play to their benefit. Broken play and sort of a half pick there delegated by Marcus Jackson to leave Royce Paris with enough room along the left side corner, and by the time the closeout came by UW-Stout, they were in a very precarious and favorable position on Royce Paris' side.
30-second timeout, we'll keep it here. Paris with his first field goal of the night. He had not been, for a guy who's the starting point guard today, right? Main ball handler, had not been a huge part of the offense up until that shot. When he had the ball on the perimeter, he was not looking to shoot. He'd only taken 1 field goal before that. And I would not have been uncomfortable if I were the Stout coach in leaving him open in the corner in that situation.
And he's not necessarily the go-to guy for Joe Burke in scoring situations. He's there to run the offense, facilitate, make sure everything is in place. He averages about 9 points a game. He gave Skidmore 9 against Ramapo on Monday. Tonight a little slow to start, but a much-needed 3 for there for Skidmore, who again is starting to find different offensive options in addition to Martin Badulski and Eric Sanders in the second half.
So Paris will go to the line to complete the 4-point play. 92.3% free throw shooter on the season, ball on the way, and he does. So it is a 4-point lead, a big possession there for Skidmore.
Yeah, and Skidmore finally gets to the 10-point mark in this second half.
Blue Devils with the basketball. Thomas almost has it tied up by Paris. Paris all over him. Gets the ball away to Dixon. It's Hank Kuyak working against Karp. Far wing with it, and Thomas is again smothered by Paris, and Paris is going to get called for the foul. 1-1 here for the Blue Devils.
Yeah, Paris is a committed lockdown defender. He's welcoming these defensive one-on-one matchups up high, trying to stifle that UW-Stout offense from beginning their penetration action.
The Thomas just 2 for 2 from the line coming into the week, and he makes the first.
What do you make of the,
I was
sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
You being located out there in the Midwest area, what do you make of the MIAC or the WIAC situation this year with the lay of the land?
Well, it's interesting because Stevens Point lost so much from last year, and Whitewater, who's been neck and neck with him the last couple of years, they lost a lot too. They brought in a ton of two-year school transfers. So I think the interesting thing is that now that the conference is one team smaller with Superior having left, they don't play any conference games before the holiday break. So, we haven't seen any of them play each other. Those two still have to be counted in the mix as the possible 1-2. Maybe Whitewater's the best. Oshkosh is someone who's going to be a contender. That's a program that's been on the rise. And I think Eau Claire, which is a program that struggled for many, many years under the previous coaching regime, changed coaches twice in the course of 2 years, and they might be on the upswing as well. They've had a little bit of improvement, so I like them. I still think Platteville's probably in the mix, and then then you're talking about at the other end of the spectrum, folks like La Crosse and Stout, and maybe River Falls might get into that middle of the pack in the conference. But I think it's really wide open. It's definitely not going to be a Stevens Point where it probably won't be a Whitewater walkover. If you think that now it's a 14-team or a 14-game schedule, champion of the regular season is probably 10-4.
There will still be the Titans, but much more parity along the top.
Well, right, and Titans with a capital T at Oshkosh will probably be one of those teams in the mix at the top.
Titans alongside the rest of the Titans.
Jackson with the rebound off of the miss from Dixon. It's interesting. Superior leaving the league. I know we mentioned on the game yesterday that probably improves both the WIAC and the UMAC. But Superior has been fairly good at women's basketball. Been great at hockey, but they still play hockey in the league because the WIAC is desperate for hockey programs after having made a crazy decision about 3 or 4 years ago.
And I guess the other interesting factor of this all is with 2 fewer games against Superior, that lends itself to 2 additional non-conference games. Would that bolster everyone's overall schedule?
Possibly. And certainly Stout has an opportunity to pick up a win here that they might not have otherwise. Of course, WIAC teams come out here on a regular basis, so they have had enough non-conference dates to make the trip out here before. And now they have indeed 2 more. A couple of them are still playing Superior, and a couple of them played across the border into Iowa. Of course, there's always a significant amount of WIAC versus MIAC games, as the shot by Lottie is no good. Lottie just a 34.6% free throw shooter. I believe that's not a typo. Down at the bottom of our stat sheet here.
Well, Gordon made them, so he's usually on top of things. If Gordon's not good on his numbers, I think the economy would crumble of our country.
I think Dave did these, though. Gordon did the women's ones. Jackson controls the rebound, but he's stepping on the out-of-bounds line. Bit of a frustrating couple of minutes here for Marcus Jackson, sophomore center out of Albany, New York, who's getting a lot more playing time here than he did in the first game. Low post, Lottie kicks it outside. Swung around for Dixon. Shot clock at 20, 8:56 to go here in the second half. Skidmore leading Stout by the score of 47-44. 3 ball on the way for Justin Thomas, and he hits that one, ties it up. This game between teams that average 81 and 72 points a game, and the scoring has kind of ground to a halt here, and on the way back up, Kuyak steals the ball, and Paris is going to get called for the foul.
Well, I'm really impressed about on the Skidmore side, even though that 3 was sent down. Martin Badulski's helped defense along with Skidmore. It seems like anytime a guard or a forward gets the ball, Stout just ran a really nice looking pick and roll on the right side that ended up in the arms of John Lottie. And immediately he drew a double team, and then they had to send it back outside. And again, there's just gold uniforms everywhere, continuing to swarm, continuing to disrupt UW-Stout's offense. Now, whether that's something in addition to the chaos they run that they prefer, it's throwing things out of whack.
Kuyak missed both of those free throws, and Stout really struggling from the foul line, possibly even more so today than usual. 47 apiece. Stout missing an opportunity to take the lead there. Inside, Jackson leaves it a little bit too strong and rebounded by Stout. Stout 11 of 22 from the foul line, 50%. Here's a 3 ball on the way that rattles out off the hands of Dixon.
The defense basically induced Dixon into shooting that 3.
It worked out for them. Here's Sanders on the other end. No good, and rebounded by Kuyak. Up ahead, layup on the way, shot no good by Dixon. And there'll be a foul as well.
Dixon coming into this game just 1 for 9 from three-point land all season long, so maybe with that limited amount of time that Joe Burke has with which to study, quick story there on Dixon is let him take the 3 if he so pleases.
It's the 10th team foul against Skidmore, so double bonus the rest of the way. Just 4 fouls against UW-Stout. And the first foul shot rattles out once again. Kuyak unable to connect. Jackson will take a seat. Volpe comes back into the game for the Thoroughbreds, and also coming back in will be Jack Byrne, and he replaces Martin Badulski. Kuyak's second shot, and he makes this one, so he's made 1 of the last 4 and gives Stout that lead 48-47. Blue Devils again with the 2 men in the backcourt, and somehow coming up with the steal, but not quite, as the ball comes straight through the table next to us, and it was Ossenmacher trying to track it down, but unable to hold on to it after he knocked it away right in the front court. Timeout on the floor. 30-second timeout. 3 more games coming up today. Laverne takes on St. Vincent in women's basketball, the final women's game here at the D3Hoops.com Classic. Justin Sweeney and I will be calling that game.
Oh, will we?
Yeah, you and I have the first 2, and then the final 2 belong. Well, you're heading to the airport afterwards.
We're going to be buddies. We're going to be pals.
We're going to be sick and tired of each other.
Yeah, probably, but we won't have to see each other again for approximately a year.
That's right, unless you get Transylvania in the Final Four or something.
Unless you really get a hankering to journey down to Lexington.
Well, that could happen. Then the
bustling locale.
The final 2 games of the day will be Mary Hart and Baylor versus Whitworth in men's action, and then St. Vincent will take on Calvin, and Gordon Mann and Dave McHugh will call those games.
I wish you could watch that Whitworth-Calvin game all over again. That was really good stuff.
Well, you can go to YouTube and watch it.
There you go. That's right. Everything is archived, as far as we know, for life.
Automaticamente.
So that was Calvin, though, 3-5 going into that game against Whitworth last night, and the way they played, Whitworth and Kenny Love was on fire to begin early. Kenny Love ending that game with a career-high 28 points, the reigning Northwest Conference Player of the Year. But Calvin came to play and battle, and that was a 1-possession game all the way until the end. Calvin just could not muster enough offensive production down the stretch. They got the necessary stops, but couldn't get over the hump.
Yeah, you have to be heartened with how your team played last night if you're a Calvin fan. Obviously, if that shot at the end of regulation had gone in, maybe even more so. But still, nonetheless, a well played game. Shot clock is at 5. Sanders is going to put it up from 26, and he's going to put it down.
That's Sanders' 3rd three-pointer of the day in the first of this half, and what a timely moment for it to arrive.
Sanders now with 16 on the afternoon. Spear out on the perimeter. Ossenmacher dribbling in and tries to put it up. Shot no good, and there it will be. Well, the officials are going to discuss what this is.
Fantastic harassment by Jack Byrne, hanging with the play, swooping in from behind to get his hand on top of the basketball. 90% of the time, you're going to come up with the foul in that situation, but a very heady and athletic play by Jack Byrne.
I'm going to say it's out of bounds, but on the inbounds, John Keefe steals it away. Dave McHugh reporting that Reggie Kuyak, one of the starters, although starter is a little less meaningful on a team like this, is sitting out with ice on his knee. So we'll see what the status is for the senior center for the rest of the game. 3 ball for Karp on the way. Doesn't get it to fall. Long rebound up ahead to Patterson. Patterson one-on-one against Sanders, and an offensive foul. Sanders definitely set up.
Sanders was pretty deep alongside that semicircle, but at the same time, Jalen Patterson, not really a whole lot of purpose as he released up into the air.
It's the black semicircle, not the gray one, so it's the slightly smaller one. Sanders had plenty of time to set up on the baseline. He was already trailing the play. And Patterson just came in a little bit out of control, hoping to get bailed out by a call, and he did not. 50-48, and there's another steal in the backcourt. The 14th turnover, make it 15th turnover for Skidmore here this afternoon. Patterson going to the rack, shot no good. Rebound controlled finally by Volpe for Skidmore. Rupkus brings it up on a 2-on-4. It throws it up after the whistle was blown.
He's drawing in a lot of attention that entire journey down the floor with the ball in his hand, and eventually he got the whistle in the end.
Foul is against Keefe. Keefe with his first foul, 6th-team foul.
Really good second half for Edvinas Rupkus, already 10 points and counting. He has stepped up in this one after it was a huge first half for Martin Podolski and Eric Sanders.
Another ball going back the other way, and Patterson has it knocked away from behind by Jack Byrne. And it will remain Blue Devil basketball. 5:56 to go here in the second half. Skidmore leading UW-Stout 50-48.
Patterson might be the fastest guy on Stout's squad with the ball in his hands, but he has nearly gotten into big trouble 2 successive possessions. First with that offensive foul and then having it batted from behind, seemingly unaware of Byrne closing down in on him.
Rupkus and Nordstrom got tangled up, and Rupkus will get called for the foul. That's number 4 for him. 4 fouls for Paris as well. Sanders, Jackson, and Byrne with 3 fouls apiece for Skidmore. On the other side, Jalen Patterson has 3 fouls, nobody else with more than 2 for the Blue Devils.
Now Joe Burke has to be thinking and devising, how do I keep Rupkus in this game? How do I keep him safe? He's been the main source almost of offense in this second half on a consistent basis. Sanders has struck here and there, but the majority of his production has come in the first half. If Rupkus goes out, you don't know where the next offensive option is going to come from down the stretch.
Yeah, and Rupkus has already spent a few minutes on the bench. Dave's got a report for us. Let's check in.
2 things I'm noticing. First off, Skidmore seems to be trying to play to the refs. They're trying to bait the refs into calls, and I don't think the refs are buying it. Second thing, 14 for Skidmore, now warned twice by the officials to keep quiet.
All right, thanks a lot, Dave. That's Jack Byrne, a freshman out of Hazlet, New Jersey, and Joe Burke visibly upset. Things not going right. A couple of empty possessions here back-to-back for Skidmore. 50-49, Skidmore with the lead. The St. Vincent Bearcats, the women's basketball team, in the building. They're getting ready for our game, which comes up scheduled at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern, against University of Laverne.
Budding season on the way for St. Vincent out of the President's Athletic Conference.
That's Spear working inside, kicks it outside. Keefe, who hasn't played as much here in the second half, dumps it underneath for Nordstrom, and he puts it in for 2, and Stout takes the lead back, 51-50. And maybe a holding foul called in the backcourt. Meanwhile, Jack Byrne still really lit up. You see how Sanders is telling him to calm down, too. Sanders, a little bit of senior leadership on the freshman.
Well, Bernie's a very ambitious young player. shown his command of the floor. He's, again, come up with some big defensive plays, in my mind, for Skidmore.
Couple of substitutions for the Thoroughbreds. Look at you here in a second. First free throw is in. Paris back in. He's got 4 fouls. Also Volpe on the floor. Isaac Karp along with Sanders and Chase Ta. So that means Byrne gets to do his slow burn on the bench for a few minutes. And it is a 52-51 lead after the second made free throw. 5:08 and counting remaining here in the second half. 1-point ball game. Byrne feeds underneath for Nordstrom, too strong, and rebounded by Skidmore.
That's a great offensive play by Stout. Just a shame they couldn't finish off that layup.
Karp with the basketball. Now Paris. This group has been on the floor for a little while here in the second half for Stout. That's an air ball up at top by Volpe, and it goes out of bounds. They definitely have, the rotation was quicker in the first half, quicker at the beginning of the second half. I remember yesterday too, though, at the end of the first half, the rotation slowed down for Stout in terms of players in and out of the game.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more Ossenmacher on the floor as of late. John Keefe is in here working with the basketball after being relatively quiet for the first 10 minutes of this half, maybe biding his time. Not sure how under the weather he is, but perhaps it's Stout who's saving him for the stretch run here.
And the ball, Patterson lost the handle on it. Karp reached in to knock it away, and then Patterson responded by fouling him, so that is foul number 4 for Jalen Patterson.
And moments ago with Dave's sideline report, he suggested that Skidmore could be playing to the refs, which may be true, but as of late, these last couple of plays, they haven't really needed to. Stout's been so needlessly physical with Skidmore that Skidmore's been able to earn a good chunk of cheap fouls in the last few possessions here.
Well, remember the foul differential was 10-4 at one point here in the second half. I'm not going to be the person who says that, it has to be even.
Hashtag conspiracy theory.
Because it shouldn't be. It's 2 completely different styles of game. Meanwhile, there's a question as to whether this is a 1-and-1 or a 2-shot foul. Now they finally realize it is indeed a 1-and-1 because the ball was out near midcourt. It's just a reminder that Skidmore hasn't been in the double bonus yet. First shot good for Karp. Karp's an 86% free throw shooter, and he's got one more coming. Second one on the way, and he hit them both. 54-51. Skidmore up by 3, coming up on the 4-minute mark of the second half here at the D3Hoops.com Classic. Lineup changes will get you here. Lottie on the floor right now for Stout. Ossenmacher remains in the basketball game. Keefe is in as well, along with Corey Spear and Sam Ortman. Those are the 5 of the floor.
Ossenmacher and Lottie very intent on running some pick and roll right now, but tough to do so against a triple team of defenders for Skidmore along the right side.
Spear with the basketball, spins into the lane, shot no good. Offensive rebound by Lottie and then tied up. Nope, it's going to be a foul called against Paris, and if so, that's number 5.
And that's double bonus time for Skidmore.
Has been for a while. That is the 12th team foul against Skidmore this half. So Paris will foul out here with 4 points. 1 of 2 from downtown, 1 of 1 from the line. 4 assists, 3 rebounds.
Skidmore's got to be kicking themselves for missing out on that offensive rebound. Not only does it give UW-Stout an additional reprieve, but there goes your starting point guard after a play which never should have occurred.
Paris was only back in the game for about that one possession. Ta had come in to replace Byrne after Byrne proved himself incapable of staying in the game on an emotional level, I think it's fair to say. So first shot is good by Lottie. Remember, he's the guy who's shooting 35% from the line. And then, so Ta comes in.
And you could do a lot worse with your backup point guard than Chase Ta.
Yeah, exactly. But if you wanted to get him a rest or, frankly, wanted to have your starting point guard out there for the final 4 minutes, that didn't happen. You had him for one possession. Lottie made them both, and it cuts the lead to 1, and it allows him to set up the pressure, and the ball is kicked out of bounds, and it will remain Skidmore basketball. 54-53. All 5 players in the front court here for Skidmore, and now Volpe releases. Inbounds comes into Ta. Sanders gets it back. He will bring it across the timeline with a few seconds to spare.
I think you want to find your scorer, Martin Badulski, here at some point in this possession.
Chase Ta with the basketball, swings near side for Sanders. Up top, Volpe. Around the far side for Karp. For Sanders, for Ta, the freshman out of Princeton, New Jersey. Dribbles in, pull-up floater, too strong, and it's rebounded by Spear for the Blue Devils. Stout with a chance to take the lead here. 3:16 and counting remaining in regulation from the South Point Arena. Up top with it is Ortman. Got Spear with it on the far wing, guarded by Karp. Ortman in the corner, dribbles in, back to Spear. Cross-court pass, 3 ball on the way for Ossenmacher, and he hits it. 2-point lead for the Blue Devils. Ossenmacher's 4th 3 ball of the afternoon, and it gives Stout a 2-point advantage. Rupkus ends up bouncing it off of Ossenmacher out of bounds.
Stout defense is heating up.
And there's going to be a timeout on the floor, a full timeout. We'll take a break. We'll be back in just a moment. 2:39 to go here from the second half of our first game of the day from the D3Hoops.com Classic, and UW-Stout leads Skidmore by the score of 56-54. Back out here at the D3Hoops.com Classic. Pat Coleman along with Justin Sweeney. Dave McHugh doing sideline reports here as this is a tight game, 56-54. UW-Stout leading Skidmore. And Justin, it's been kind of a frenetic second half here and a fairly low-scoring one.
It's a competitive, closely fought game that's never really had a lovely rhythm to it, if you will. Stout breaking out some mixing up of defenses here, and Skidmore's had its chances switching around different scoring heroes in the first half. It was mostly Martin Badilski and Eric Sanders. Since then, it was Royce Paris, who's now fouled out, and Edvinas Rupkus taken over the scoring quality of this game.
Shot clock at 7. Jack Byrne back into the basketball game. He has it here in the near corner. Shot clock at 3. Dribbles in, takes it in, and the reverse layup rattles out just a bit too strong, and it's rebounded on the run by Stout. Byrne almost committed a foul there at midcourt trying to get the ball back.
That was a great reverse attempt by Jack Byrne. Just a shame that one didn't go down.
Oh, it's 2:09 and counting remaining here in the second half. Spear with the basketball for Stout. The Blue Devils working in the basket to our right here in the second half. Keefe with the basketball, guarded closely by Karp. Shot clock at 6. Keefe dribbles in, a little up and under, nope, kicks it out on the perimeter, baseline jumper for Ortman, no good, and a battle on the rebound once again, and it will be a foul against Stout, so Skidmore will be at the line to shoot a 1-and-1 here. As, is that Hank Kuyak, 23 or 33? 23 is Corey Spear.
Rupkus with a heck of a rebound and a great defensive effort by Martin Badilski, who's matched up with the big man John Lottie down low, giving Lottie all he can handle, denying the entry pass into the post.
Rupkus to the line, a 79% free throw shooter. Makes the first, so he'll get another. Lead cut to 1. Volpe comes back into the game for Skidmore, and it will be Badulski heading to the bench. Rupkus averaging 15.2 points a game, 5.3 rebounds. He's got 15 so far here. Make it 16 this afternoon, and the second shot is on the way, and it's 17. And a tie ball game at 56 apiece with $1.50 to go. Couldn't have asked for a better way to start off this day. We ended with a thriller last night. And we have a game that is tied up with 105 seconds to go. Ossenmacher to the cutter Keefe. Outside for Nordstrom. Picks up his dribble, bounce pass on the baseline. Shot is up and good for John Keefe. Keefe been a little quiet on offense, but a nice baseline move there. Lead is up to 2. Sanders brings it across the timeline. Now moving with more urgency in the front court. Takes it to the rack himself. Shot around and off. And rebounded by Spear for UW-Stout.
Here's a chance for Stout to really seize a stronghold on this game if they get a 2-possession lead here after being neck and neck with Skidmore over the last 5.
Coming up on the 1-minute mark. Shot clock at 13. Here's Ossenmacher behind his back. A nice job by Jack Burns stealing it away.
Well, the freshman has been kind of up and down all day long, but that's why you got to have Jack Byrne in the game. He will do special and tangible things, and right there, coming up with a crucial steal inside a minute to go. Skidmore can tie or lead.
Skidmore takes a timeout. Joe Burke has 2 remaining here for the final 49 seconds of regulation, and a trail by a pair, 58-56. Been an interesting past several minutes here for Skidmore, where they've kind of played offense in fits and starts. A couple of possessions have broken down. The pass on the most recent offensive possession, Jack Byrne did a nice job bringing it up the baseline, just couldn't get the reverse layup to fall. And Skidmore needs a bucket here to tie. Getting out rebounded 35-30. Skidmore 18 of 51 from the floor, 7 of 21, just 33% in the second half. 3 for 10 from downtown in the second half, but 9 of 11 from the foul line. A quick game reset as well. It'll be double bonus the rest of the way. Possession arrow points towards Skidmore. 2 timeouts, as I mentioned, remaining for Skidmore, and 3 for the Blue Devils. So Rupkus with the basketball, shot clock at 22. Here's Sanders, going to launch it right away from 3, off the left, off the rim and out of bounds, and it will be Blue Devil ball.
Well, Sanders, he's 3 for 8 from the 3-point line in this one. Had a decent look from straight away, just would not go down for him.
Dave, go ahead quickly.
That's the play they wanted, inside out. They wanted to get him to bait the figure it was coming inside. Sanders pop outside for a look. It was off the second it left his hand.
All right. A real quick shot, but they have an opportunity to still make up for it here with a defensive stop. Karp guarding Keefe. Shot clock at 11, a 10-second differential. Shot on the way, it's a 2-pointer, and it is good. So John Keefe with the bucket and a timeout.
And how about John Keefe? He was the wild card in this game coming into it. One of his teammates was sick. It was up in the air whether Keefe was at 100% or not coming into this game. He was trying to be competitive early in this one, forcing his shot, then kind of quieted down for the middle 20 minutes of this ball game, and they saved their horse for the final stretch, and he has come through for Stout.
He's got 10 points here on the afternoon, and 7 of them in the second half, perhaps none of them bigger than the one that put them up by 2 possessions here with 16.9 seconds to go. So this is a timeout for UW-Stout. The Blue Devils coming into the day 3-6, trying to put a capper basically on their non-conference schedule, heading back into WIAC play shortly as January starts.
And if they can seize a win here, that would be huge, maybe even more so symbolically, coming off of that 3-22 season to enter the new year inside the first 2 months of their schedule, already a higher win total it would be than last year.
Should I send it over to Dave?
Interesting enough, pressure's going to be on here. Stout's going to go with the same defense. They're going to bring pretty much 3-4 guys onto the other side of midcourt here to pressure the ball, keep it from going up. And then he emphasized one thing. They're going to go for a 3. If they miss and they let them have the layup. Almost a Grinnell mentality. Let them have the layup. His words to him, know the score.
Good point. All right. Thanks a lot, Dave. Volpe, Byrne, Rupkus, Karp, and Sanders on the floor right now. Remember, Paris is already fouled out for Skidmore. Game clock at 16.9. Here's Sanders driving in, takes the layup, and counts. Clock stops with 12.6 to go. So they go for 2 here to cut the lead to 60-58 with 12.6 seconds left, and a timeout for Skidmore. They have 1 remaining.
Well, I know Andy Andrus was content to let Skidmore have the layup. Not sure if he's happy with the rapidity in which that occurred, though. That only took about maybe 4 seconds.
Yeah, 4.3 seconds off the game clock. So, indeed, a pretty quick turnaround. Of course, you got to remember, Stout is rife with players who do not shoot foul shots well. So an opportunity for multiple targets, most likely for the Thoroughbreds if they choose to foul. Well, they'll have to foul.
And maybe we'll see a brand new lineup of 5 players we've never seen on the floor together for UW-Stout based on the top 5 free throw shooters on their chart.
They've got Skidmore, they've got Asemacher, they've got Spear, they have Ortman on the floor.
Keefe is still there, he's an 82% shooter.
They have Nordstrom on the floor as well. Inbounds comes in, and Spear is bear hugged right away by Sanders. So Sanders picks up foul number 3.
Still an eternity of time here left for Skidmore, though.
Spear will be attempting his first free throws of the season. And first one rattles out.
Door is open.
There's nobody but Skidmore players back for the rebound. Rupkus reminding his teammates they would have got to get a timeout here. That's what it looked like anyway. They do. Free throw's good. Rupkus gets the timeout. So 11.6 to go, and Skidmore has to go to the length of the floor and needs a 3 to tie.
Well, this is an interesting amount of time left in this game to consider, 11.5 seconds about. So now if you're UW-Stout, do you consider fouling Skidmore, and if so, how long do you choose to wait?
Oh, yeah, that's the eternal question,
11
right?
seconds is probably a little too long, but if you can churn off a couple of seconds as they move their way up the floor, maybe that 5-6 second range, then that's the zone I think you want to look for to give a foul out.
Meanwhile, if you're on the other side, if you're Skidmore, you want to put up that shot with about 4 seconds, maybe even 5 seconds left, because you got to get that offensive rebound and kick it back outside if you do not make the that first 3 attempt.
Yeah, maybe if you're Skidmore, even just consider the long ball pass from the baseline.
Nordstrom, along with Asemacher and Ortman. And let's check in with Dave.
Unfortunately, lost a lot of time in the timeout just determining whether it was a full or a 30. By the time they finally figured this out, I think they're going for a long pass here.
Yep. Well,
or
here comes
maybe not.
A roller into the backcourt. Rupkus brings it up. Game clock at 10 and fouled out on the perimeter.
So it comes really early, but that'll send Skidmore to the foul line.
So Kuyak will get called for the foul. That is Hank Kuyak picking up foul number 2.
It's got to be unnerving for Stout. The last 2 defensive possessions, Skidmore has gotten their score first on the layup beforehand. Presuming they score here, they're doing it in about a combined 5 seconds of game time.
Rupkus, 78% free throw shooter, 3 of 4 today, make it 4 of 5.
And the other thing about that play, Dave said maybe expect the long ball. They didn't give the long ball, but Stout, everybody backed off past midcourt. They were able to roll out the ball to at least 3/4 court. That saves you an extra 2 seconds, you would think.
Yeah, they only used 3.5 seconds on that possession, if I remember correctly. Ortman comes out. Keefe comes back in for the offensive end. Lottie is in for the offensive end as well. Here clearly for the rebound, not for his free throw shooting ability, as the second shot is good. It is a 1-point game with 9.1 seconds to go. Skidmore, pressure in the backcourt. Asemacher trying to get in, finally gets it into Spear, and Spear is going to get fouled. Remember, Spear was just at the line for his first free throws of the season. And he will go back for another pair right here with 8.1 to go. And the 5th foul.
So that's it for Sanders, it appears. So that takes away one key option to tie this game up if Spear goes 2 for 2.
And so far, because of the missed free throw by Spear the last time down the floor, Skidmore is winning the 2-for-1 trade. Spear's first shot good. That makes it a 2-point ball game with 8 seconds to go. One more coming.
If he hits the second one, that gives Stout the opportunity to foul again and still have the lead.
Second shot on the way, good. And Skidmore will take its last timeout with 8 seconds remaining here in regulation, needing a 3 to tie. Dave McHugh checking in.
Yeah, the only reason we have a foul out there is because of a defensive mental breakdown. They an excellent job initially on defense, had a double team in the corner, weren't able to get the pass off the baseline, but Rupkis and his teammate went back to the ball, leaving Sears open in the corner. Rupkis was supposed to stay there, and it forced him into a 5th foul.
Thanks a lot, Dave. No mystery here. Skidmore still needs that three-pointer. And now in a situation here, Justin, where they're not in a position to necessarily get the offensive rebound. They might have just one shot at this.
Well, I expect this time Stout to establish some sort of full-court pressure on every man up there, and there's going to be no shaving of the clock this time. So fewer options, you would think, for Skidmore.
Indeed. 3 men and 4 defenders in the front court here. Rupkis brings it across the timeline. 6 to go in the game, and a foul out on the perimeter. I don't think that was intentionally done this time.
I don't think you can give a foul that's much more perfect than that, though. Look at all the time that just went off the clock, down to 3.9 seconds.
Half the game expired, 4.1 seconds went away. Rupkis goes back to the foul line. Not quite make the first, intentionally miss the second.
I think you're getting close to this point with 3.9 seconds. If you foul again, send Stout the other way.
First shot good. Again cuts the lead down to 2 with 3.9 seconds to go. Keefe comes out, Ortman comes in. Remember, Spear 3 for 4 from the foul line, but the one miss had made this a 3-point game instead of a 4-point game. That looms large. Rupkis' second shot on the way. And this one is good. It rattles in. Lottie looking to inbounds and a tie-up. Tie-up coming. The arrow points towards Skidmore with 2 seconds to go.
Unbelievable.
So they will get an opportunity with the ball down 1.
Skidmore thought they could get the steal, and they certainly came up big here on the defensive stop.
So it'll be Karp to inbound underneath his own basket. Needing a bucket to win. Any bucket will do. Long out to shot no good by Podolski, and all they had left was the outlet pass way out up top, and Podolski couldn't even get a good look at the basket at the end. Stout holds on to win 63-62.
And you look at that replay, thinking about some contact maybe from Brett Ossenmacher, but you have to credit Brett Ossenmacher. He rushed back and got his arms straight up. I mean, it's very tough to get a shot off, but he was right in his face, but I don't think he really swept through or anything, so it'd be somewhat tough to give Ossenmacher that foul. Of course, if you're on the Skidmore side, there's going to be plenty of temptation to disagree with that call, but about as good of a closeout that Brett Ossenmacher could pull out there. And given the foul outs to Eric Sanders, Royce Paris, Mark Podolski was the guy you wanted with the basketball in his hands at the end of that game.
I suppose, but you know, in all honesty, remember they didn't need 3. They could have done with 2. But the one thing that Stout had done was they had their biggest players in the game, right? You know, Lottie hadn't not necessarily been a great contributor, wasn't a great guy to have out there in a situation where Skidmore might foul, but in a situation where you want to have somebody big guarding the inbounds pass, that's your biggest guy out there, or at least your bulkiest guy at 6'5" and a pretty big forward. Oh, the final score goes to Wisconsin Stout by a win of 63-62. Dave, do you have final thoughts you want to share with us about what you saw there at the end as well?
Yeah, I thought it was clean. I mean, the guy was standing straight up, but more importantly, Stout almost going to hurt themselves. You know, ball inbounded. 2 players running for the exact same spot on the floor. That cost the ball. I saw it right in front of me. Ball actually popped loose right underneath the paint. Allowed Skidmore to get their hands on the ball there. So Stout nearly cost it because 2 guys ran to the exact same point on the floor, and where the ball was coming together, you had 5 guys there, ball came loose.
Yeah, and a particularly key tie-up at a key time in the game, and a spot where Skidmore having the arrow into their advantage.
And I don't think that's the look that he wanted on the inbounds play. I thought it was very well covered by Stout. He looked left, he looked right, he looked into the paint for an option. He didn't like him. I was standing right next to him. He didn't like any of the options. He basically threw that over the top to the only guy he had a chance at, and I think a good play at the end. They had at least a decent look at it. That's just a really, really tough look. And again, that goes back to the miscommunication on the previous inbounds play on a full court where they get forced into a fifth foul by Sanders. You know, Sanders wasn't supposed to be the guy who was going to be guarding that corner. Sears, and after initial double team, that was supposed to remain Rupkus, and you could see Sanders' frustration. So that all precipitated from there. Interestingly enough, they got that extra look, but that's kind of what set that all up.
So again, the final score, Wisconsin Stout, they improved to 4-6, defeating Skidmore by the score of 63-62. Skidmore falls to 5-3. And final stats, so we'll start on the Skidmore side of the ledger. It was Rupkus leading the way at Venus Rupkus with 21 points, 6 of 9 from the floor, 2 for 4 from downtown, and 7 for 8 from the foul line. Eric Sanders, 18 on 6 for 16 shooting, 3 for 9 from three-point range, and 3 for 4 from the line. Martin Podolski with 13 on 5 for 10 shooting, 3 for 6 from three-point range. And then you go all the way down to Royce Paris with 4, Isaac Karp with 4, Marcus Jackson with 2, and Charlie Williams, Jack Byrne, Nick Volpe, and Chase Taub played but did not score for the total of 62. Skidmore, 19 of 54 from the floor, 35%, 9 for 29 from beyond the arc, 31%, and 15 for 17 from the charity stripe, 88.2%. Got out-rebounded by Stout 37-30. They turned over the ball 16 times compared to 18 for the Blue Devils. And the Blue Devils were led off the bench by Jalen Patterson, his 15 points on 5 of 8 shooting. 1 for 2 from downtown and 4 for 6 from the line. Brett Ossenmacher started, and he got 11 points on 3 for 9 shooting, 3 for 6 from beyond the arc, and 2 for 3 from the line. John Keefe with 10, and then it was Justin Thomas with 9, Jacob Nordstrom with 8, Sam Ortman with 3, John Lottie, Corey Spear with 3, John Lottie with 2, Hank Kuyak and Keegan Dixon with 1 apiece, and then Reggie Kuyak, Isaac Elliott, and Colton Williams played but did not score for the Blue Devils, for the total of 63 points. Blue Devils shot 18 of 47 from the floor, 38%, 9 for 21 from the three-point stripe for 43%, and just 18 for 33 from the line, 54.5% just in a stat, which nearly cost them here this afternoon.
Yeah, UW-Stout. My player of the game has to be John Keefe. A lot of balanced scoring across the board for UW-Stout. Jalen Patterson had a very productive day off the bench, but Keefe with that huge jumper outside to give Stout that 4-point cushion, just about a minute to go in the game, allowing him to play the defensive back-and-forth game the rest of the way, even though Skidmore had one final look. Keefe gave Stout the necessary cushion, and you got to give the starting veteran guard for Stout a lot of credit. There was talk he was under the weather coming into this game. He gutted it out, sat for a good chunk of the middle of this game, and then in the final 5 to 7 minutes of the game, that's when he rose to the occasion and got it done for Stout down the stretch.
Keefe made just 1 of his first 4 from the floor, made 3 of his last 4 en route to double figures. And Stout with a little bit tighter rotation today. He played just 13 players, but it was enough for them to get win number 4. We're going to take a break here at the D3Hoops.com Classic. When we come back out in about 15 minutes, Justin Sweeney and I will get you prepared for our final women's game of this event, which will feature the University of La Verne and St. Vincent College. For Justin Sweeney and for Dave McHugh, I'm Pat Coleman. Again, the final score, it was UW-Stout beating Skidmore 63-62.